Hey everyone, this is Matthew Kent. Thanks so much for watching. One of the cool things about this channel is that I am still a work in progress. Just in terms of life in general, in terms of productivity and organization in particular, in terms of putting videos out there online, all these things, I'm a work in progress. I'm making progress, but I'm by no means an expert, by no means finished. So the cool thing is I get to show you things that I'm experimenting on, working with, changing, tweaking, because ultimately I think that through experimentation and through that kind of growth, that's where I'll ultimately get to the place that I want to be. So one thing that I've been evaluating very closely recently is how I've been doing my habit tracker in my bullet journal. So habit tracker is not one of the core features of the bullet journals, but it's an incredibly helpful one. And if you bullet journal, I strongly recommend having one of some sort. And I think a lot of people have utilized it to great effect. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you my habit tracker from a few months ago in July, show you the one I've created for this month, which happens to be October 2016. I'm not sure when you're watching this video, but I'm recording it October of 2016. I'll let you see if you can see the differences, and then I'll comment on them and why I think they are important. Let's go to the bullet journal. Okay, so here is the habit tracker that I had from back in July. And so you see here that I had Bible reading and prayer every day. Encouragement just means that I would speak some encouraging words to each member of my family. Gratitude was that I would write in my bullet journal gratitude log every day. And then 500 words of writing just in general, whether it's for a blog post or just anything else, but 500 words a day. Doing a minute or two of plank exercises, right? Good for your core. Core is important, remember that. And then of course exercise, more substantive exercise outside of just, doing daily planks. That's the one I did the worst at, only twice all month. I calculated the percentage of days in which I did the various activities. Overall, you see, not that bad. I have a lot of X's here, although a lot are in arenas that I was already quite good at, and there's probably not as many X's in some of the boxes that I really wanted to focus on, like you see here, the 500 words. I really would have liked to have done more than that. So let's compare this to October. Okay, so here is October. As you can see already, it's a lot different. First of all, there's only one X in the whole thing. And that looks bad, and it is. Mostly today, I'm recording this video on the 12th, and you'll never know this based on whichever day you're watching it. But this is October 12th that I'm recording this in the morning. And so I haven't, I've been taking some time off of the habit tracker in the beginning of the month until I decided what I wanted to do, because I knew it needed to be fixed. And so I probably should have just kept going with the old system, but I knew it needed to be fixed, and so I stopped for a while. So really, I'm 1 for 1 this month, but this looks really, really bad. The other thing that's immediately obvious is that I went from 5 or 6 habits down to just 1. And then if you're perceptive, the other thing that you notice is that the one habit changed. It used to be 500 words a day, and now it's 100 words a day. So, man, look at that. I am slacking off. What is going on? Well, it's actually a very intentional change, as I'll explain here. Okay, so here's the deal. Most important difference, as you probably noticed, was the fact that we are down from many habits being tracked to one habit being tracked. And the reason I think this is so critical is because it was just getting too hard to keep up with too many. Some of them I was actually doing really well on, so it was almost like I was pursuing growing in less habits than were really listed on the page. But those ones that I was already excelling at didn't really need to be listed on the page. But then even among the ones that were left, I wasn't able to give sufficient time and energy to making sure they got done every day. And I think the most important part of developing a habit is just to do a little bit every day, even if you don't do as much as you would like to. You want to get into the routine, into the habit of starting every day. Starting is usually the hardest part. Once you're working out, if that's your habit that you want to grow in, it's pretty easy to be working out in the middle of a workout. Most people don't just say, well, I'm halfway done with this workout, I quit. The hard part is, getting up putting on, your athletic clothes and just starting. Once you start, you're probably going to finish. The longer you procrastinate and put off starting, the more likely you won't start. So you want to develop a consistent time when you do this thing, a certain, trigger, whether it's a habit that you do right after you wake up, right before you go to bed. You want to connect it, ground it with something that's in your life, and you want to make it so that it just becomes normal to do at least a little bit of the habit every day, and then I think you can even expand it. So I've chosen the habit of writing every day, and for people who are creative, for people who communicate, and especially for people who write, it's an incredibly important habit to have that you that you write every day. But I reduced my goal from 500 words to 100 words, and 500 words is a pretty low goal. I initially, when I set that goal, wanted to set it even much higher. But I've been inspired by a story, an anecdote, which I'm not even 100% sure if it's true. Somebody can fact check me if they want to. But I've heard that in the early days of IBM, when they became hugely successful, one of the strategies that they used is that they had the quotas for their salespeople, the monthly numbers that their salespeople needed to hit, they made them extremely low. And the reason was they didn't want their salespeople to be intimidated to pick up the phone, right, and make their sales calls. And the salespeople crushed it. The goal was low enough that they're like, I can hit that this month. They would pick up the phone, they would start to make things happen, and then they'd say, wait a minute, I can exceed this goal and get bonuses or whatever. So I think that's an incredibly helpful way to do it, lower the standards. It seems counterintuitive to some extent, and in some areas of my life, I'm like, in terms of goal setting, big long-term goals, I'm like, hey, set the goal high. Big goals lead to big results. But in terms of the habit tracker and just the daily thing, I think a lot of people overestimate what they can get done in a day, especially if you're saying I'm going to do this each and every day. I'll just do 30 minutes a day. Well, what about the days when you don't have 30 minutes? So by setting the bar extremely, extremely low, 100 words a day, don't have to be good words that I'm going to use for anything, just have to write, just have to use that muscle, just have to use that creativity in that way. What I'm doing is I'm making it a near certainty that I'll be able to, even if I'm about to go to bed and I've just got 5 minutes left and I haven't done it for my habit for the day, which is writing, I can just pick up a pen and paper and say, I don't need to use this for anything. Let me grab a scrap piece of paper and just write something until I have 100 words. And it makes it much, much, much easier to keep checking the box off. And so that's another anecdote that I've heard about Jerry Seinfeld, is that one time an aspiring comedian came to him and asked him, what do you recommend for me so that I can become a comedian like you? And Jerry said, go buy a wall calendar, big wall calendar, big as you can get it. Put it on your wall and get a red Sharpie. You're going to write one joke every day. If you write 2 jokes in one day, it doesn't count for tomorrow as well. One joke every single day, and every time you write a joke, put a red X on the calendar day for that day. And your only goal, is to keep the streak alive. And so with the habit tracker, I see the same thing. The biggest goal is to keep the streak alive. If you have a better shot keeping a streak alive at 100 words a day for a habit of writing every day, then that's a better goal for a day than 500 words a day, which is better than 1,000. Eventually, if you're somebody who writes, you probably want to get to the point where you are writing 1,000 a day, but in the beginning, you just want to do the minimum so that you make it a daily thing, because that's so much more important. So that's where I'm at right now. One habit at a time right now, that's writing. Once I get to the point where this is sort of ingrained as a natural habit, I don't really need to think about it too much, then I'll get rid of it in my habit tracker, replace it with a new one, and start working on the next thing. Ultimately, I don't think that success is gained by just shoring up your weaknesses, which that's a little bit of what the habit tracker is. But I think it's important to focus on a few key weaknesses that are holding you back, and then just really leverage your strengths to be able to succeed. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to be leveraging my strengths, but focusing on just one key weakness at a time and trying to shore that up so that I can develop better habits and be more successful. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are you working on? Do you have any habits that you're trying to implement in your life, things that you're trying to change? How are you going about it? How's it working? Let me know, and if you have any feedback for me, that would be awesome. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I really mean that.